Robert Costa. Robert, you've been following all of this alongside us. So former President Trump made comments earlier. It was less about the Supreme Court's arguments today, more of a campaign speech. Let's play that first, and then I want to get some of your reactions on the other side.
In watching the Supreme Court today, I thought it's a very beautiful process. I hope that democracy in this country will continue, because right now we have a very, very tough situation with all of the radical left ideas, with the weaponization of politics. They weaponize it like it's never been weaponized before. It's totally illegal, but they do it anyway, and it has to stop.
So not a lot of specifics about what we heard in court today, but a lot of what you have heard covering the former president out on the campaign trail. The other thing that he said was that he reinforced this idea that we all heard when we covered him on the campaign trail the last time about the rest of the world laughing at us. What do you make of how this is affecting him on the campaign trail?
It's good to be with you. First, it should be noted that former President Trump's claim that the Justice Department is being, quote, weaponized against him is not backed up by any evidence. The Justice Department is proceeding with a special counsel investigation and a looming federal trial about his alleged conduct in and around January 6th, saying the former president engaged in what Jack Smith is calling a criminal scheme to try to keep Trump in power. Despite that trial, despite what happened today at the Supreme Court and so many other issues facing the former president, from a hush money payments trial in New York scheduled to begin in March, to a possible trial in Georgia, to the civil fraud trial in New York, among many other issues, he continues to plow forward in the Republican presidential race. In his remarks today at his residence, he did not even address his opponent, Nikki Haley, the former ambassador, by name. He believes, based on my conversations with many of his top allies, that all of this could fuel his campaign, help him cement the Republican presidential nomination, and he will continue to run against President Biden. His expected opponent, should he sew up that nomination, is someone who is, in his words, using the Justice Department against him to try to fend off any kind of claim that he actually has to have scrutiny about what happened on January 6th. In a primary, his advisors and many Republicans tell me that's good politics. The question for him politically is whether that's good politics in a general election. President Biden has been focusing on January 6th and what he calls the MAGA movement as an extreme movement in the United States backing the former president. So all these issues are legal. They are also political.
It's an interesting point, Bob, because as we move forward now, what's interesting is that as the financial penalties against Trump continue to stack up. One case you didn't mention was the defamation trial he lost here in New York, where he was found to now need to pay more than $80 million to the writer E. Jean Carroll. In the civil judgment, a judge just needs to decide what the financial penalty is. It's expected to be beyond $100 million. And while he seemed to be encouraged by the Supreme Court's questions this morning and mid-afternoon, they did not debate whether or not he participated in an insurrection. So to your point that in the primaries it's great for his base, but how might that play in a general election? I'm wondering if all this baggage eventually does add up for the former president when it comes to the general election.
Errol, it's an excellent point, and you had terrific coverage yourself and reporting on the E. Jean Carroll case in New York. I remember following your reports outside of that courtroom, and that brought the issue of the allegation of rape and his liability in that case with E. Jean Carroll on a civil level to the forefront of the national conversation. And for most candidates, talking about that particular issue is not a winner politically, especially if they're trying to appeal to women and to voters nationwide who might not be in the trenches with President Trump politically. But Trump and his campaign believe that all of these issues for many voters, not just their core supporters, and they might be right, they might be wrong in this assessment, cloud up and are murky for most people to discern because there's so much going on, whether it's the immunity claim before the courts on the federal level, the January 6th case on the federal level, the Supreme Court hearing the Colorado case, then all of the other things we've just discussed. It creates this avalanche of information that most people in their everyday lives don't have time to follow in the same way we do. And the political consequences might not be as severe That's at least the belief inside the Trump campaign. But the Biden campaign, when you talk to them, they say, yes, there are many issues surrounding Trump, but they believe the one that's salient, that cuts through, is January 6th because it gets to the core of American democracy in their view.
Well, we are appreciative that you are following every angle of this, Robert Costa. Thank you.